20 years ago this month, it was a crime so shocking it still haunts the town of Florence. It was the seemingly random murders of 3 women at a local hair salon. It's now a crime that's a cold case and one where no one's been held accountable. But are there clues still out there? I decided to take a look back at the crime and the court cases that followed. I spoke with the families of the victims, the former Ravalli County Sheriff, and a fellow reporter who all agree this is a crime that cannot be forgotten because there is no justice without truth. Good afternoon, I'm Jill Valley. First at 5:30, it's a shocking crime that has devastated the small town of Florence. We first told you about these murders at the Hair Gallery and All About Nails Salon along Highway 93 in Florence. A customer found the body of a woman in a pool of blood. Law enforcement found 2 more victims in a back room. All 3 were killed with a knife or other sharp weapons.
In my career, this ranks as probably the toughest, most important case I ever investigated.
Okay, you guys ready?
Yeah.
Here we go.
Bub Hoblet dreads November. His mother was murdered while getting her nails done at the Hair Gallery Salon in Florence, Montana. She was one of 3 women to die that day.
I found out early that it had happened, but I didn't know who. I had found out, I think, before noon that it had happened, and I'm just going, oh man.
The call came in about 11 o'clock this morning from a customer who reported someone was down on the ground.
And I didn't even think to call Mom.
Law enforcement arrived and confirmed it was a female.
He did not know that just that morning his mom had changed her nail appointment. So at the last minute, she unknowingly walked into the crosshairs of evil.
You know, that's when my world fell apart. So.
Cynthia's husband Jerry told him what happened.
This was just a few months before she got killed, I guess.
20 years later, it's still hard. But Bub graciously sat down with me to share stories and pictures.
These are the grandkids. Okay. That's Missy and Donald. Yep.
And how old are they now? They're probably...
Oh, golly. She had a huge heart. You know, like I said, we weren't a big lovey. Thank God I saw her the night before it happened. For some reason, we said, let's pop up and see Mom. So we popped up and saw Mom and Jerry, and we visited for a while. And like I said, we weren't a big huggy family or anything, and I gave her a big hug, told her I loved her. And she said the same. So last time I saw her. Thankful we did it.
In Hamilton, those close to 71-year-old Cindy Paulus gathered outside of the Daily Leach Chapel after her funeral today.
The community did not just lose Cynthia that day, but 62-year-old salon owner Dorothy Harris.
She lit up a room when she walked through it. I'm going to miss her very much.
And salon manicurist, 44-year-old Brenda Patch.
No matter what I did or put her through, she still loved me.
What we're doing now is we're taking it one step at a time.
That morning, then Sheriff Perry Johnson had a sense that 911 call from Florence was different. He was right. Behind that blue tarp and yellow crime scene tape, 3 women lay dead. Their throats were slashed.
Who would have ever believed that in Florence, Montana? A daytime triple homicide of 3 unrelated people at a professional business. That's just a phenomenon.
Families and friends grieved, and fear set in across the Bitterroot Valley.
I don't think I could overstate that. The amount of fear that was in that community was, you could just about touch it when you drove into town. People were scared.
The investigation took detectives across the country chasing down leads. Officers from neighboring counties joined the case. It was years later when finally 2 names publicly emerged: Lincoln Benavides and Brian Weber.
The arraignments were delayed for a few minutes while federal court officials moved to a larger courtroom to accommodate the dozens of people who had come to watch the proceedings.
Prosecutors believe Benavides headed up a local drug ring and Weber was his enforcer.
Both face 3 counts of murder while engaged in drug trafficking. Each carries a potential sentence of death or life in prison.
But why that hair salon? And why those women?
I think for us, the thing that just kept being this mystery was one of these women has a secret.
Michael Moore was the Missoulian crime reporter back then, while I covered the case for KPAX. Tonight at 10, the search for whoever killed 3 women at a beauty parlor. We generally believed somebody related to the women was a target of drug violence, and the killer turned up that day to send a message. But now, through his sources, a different story is emerging.
I talked to a number of people here recently that told me a story that was a little bit different than that, and that it was not a relative, but that it was one of the women, and that that person had run afoul of Lincoln on the end of a bunch of money, which wasn't where it was supposed to be, and that Brian was then sent in to reinforce the message or something.
The government's case is over. Jill Valley joins us now. She's live at the federal courthouse in downtown Missoula with a reaction to this breaking development.
But federal prosecutors then dropped murder charges against Benavides, and he's later sentenced to decades in prison on drug charges. Then, murder charges were dropped against Brian Weber. He is also currently serving time on unrelated drug crimes. Federal prosecutors did not believe that they had enough for a conviction. So that left 3 families and a lot of law enforcement with nothing.
In speaking with people that were outside the Ravalli County jurisdiction but worked on the case, they said that they felt like that the investigation had been pretty competent, and that it was just a very, very difficult case because you didn't really have anything physical to go on. You know, you can build a big pile, but it's not really solid rock.
There's people out there that say, well, you're never going to solve this. And I don't believe that. I think that, that we're only as good as the information that we've got, and we just don't have the good stuff yet, and we'll get it. Oh man, you know, I would wish 100 times over that we had a different outcome here, and that they had closure, and that every question that you asked me, they had an answer to. But I don't have that.
I've never felt ill will like this towards anybody. Hate's a terrible word. I don't know Brian Weber, but I hate him if he's the killer. And I hate Lincoln Benavides if he's, those 2 people, I can honestly say that I hate, and I don't even know them. And that's sad, but it's true.
20 years gone by, and no one's been held accountable for these murders. Not yet, anyway, and maybe never, which is why it's important to remember Cynthia, a devoted grandma, an avid horseback rider, and Lady Grizz basketball fan. Dorothy, the matriarch of a large and loving family who made friends with everyone she met. And Brenda, not a day goes by when her children don't think of her and hope someday they'll get justice for their beloved mother.